100% of the funds came from us. We dipped into our savings, busted in the 401k. People don't realize the kind of the emotional and mental strain that puts on you, because here I have worked and been successful for 10 years, and you kind of cashing in your chips. You're putting it all on the table for something that you believe in, but you're not sure if everybody else believes in.
That was the voice of Mark Taylor, entrepreneur and leader in the Jackson, Tennessee business community. Mark started his companies after a partnership ended on less than ideal terms, and he found himself needing to create a whole new career from scratch. From there, Mark has built an impressive series of vertically integrated companies in the medical supply industry and has become a business leader in the Jackson community. Welcome to 40 by 45, the West Tennessee Business Podcast, sponsored by Tennessee Industrial Printing. Mark, welcome to the 40 by 45 podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Mark, just as we start, to give some context for our listeners, there's a bunch of companies here. Can you kind of give us the lay of the land?
Oh, man, I'm glad my wife isn't here. So Jill and I, my business partner, also my wife of 27 years, currently, I think it is a total of 7 LLCs that we operate here out of Jackson, Tennessee. The ones that people are most familiar of are Master Medical Equipment, where we sell medical equipment. We sell it all over the world. Our specialty is EMS, so medical equipment that goes back of ambulances, choppers, EMS equipment. We also service hospitals and other healthcare facilities. And then Renew Biomedical services that equipment. So Renew Biomedical is now growing. We're in 5 states, soon to be 7. Our main depots here in Jackson. But we service not just EMS medical equipment, but all types of medical equipment in different healthcare environments. So those are the ones we're most familiar about. We have Taylor Commercial Properties. So we own some commercial properties in West Tennessee and some in Middle Tennessee and some in East Tennessee, which we operate out of here. We have interest in an aviation company. We have interest in a private label company that actually private labels some stuff that we sell for basically our own use, but we also sell it through other distributors for medical equipment. And then we actually have a partnership in a company called First Res, which has fire extrication and patient-assisted lift products. So actually, that's the only company I've ever actually acquired. And then we have a couple other small entities that are all kind of vertically integrated, as they call it.
Yeah. Now, it does seem like they're all in the same niche. You know, why different companies instead of different divisions?
That's a good question. So people always ask that, really, for MME and Renew. So I tell everybody, MME and Renew, MME is like a car lot, right? We sell new, certified pre-owned, and used cars, all right? Medical equipment. Then. Yeah. So we do new and refurbished medical equipment sales. Renew started about 3 years after MME for servicing this equipment. So the problem is Renew 2 things. We actually service equipment for a lot of my competitors. So having a different name kind of had a different thought to them. So it was kind of a brand play. So people, while they wouldn't send equipment to be serviced by Master Medical Equipment Service Division, because we're their competitors, they will send it to Renew. Another thing is we have technicians that work on life-saving and life-sustaining equipment. And so there's a lot of liability. So we kind of separated that off for professional liability.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, all of this is largely around the medical niche.
Yes.
How did you get started in that?
Well, that's a long story, but I can shorten it. I've done this many times. So long story short, I had a friend in high school here at Jackson Christian, a couple years older than me, actually graduated with his sister, that through turn of events had to drop out of college at Ole Miss and had to get a job. And one of his fraternity brothers had a father who was a biomedical technician, also sold used medical equipment on the side. This is back in the early 90s, 93, 94. And fast forward a few years, this guy had gotten married, had kids, moved to Nashville when I was actually at school at Lipscomb. And me and my roommate at the time, we're all from here in Jackson, Tennessee, we actually got to be friends, and the guy's a couple years older than us. We thought he was cool, and we knew he had a business. And one day he calls me and he said, "Hey, Mark, We actually lived close together in Nashville. He said, "Hey, Mark, I got a bunch of medical equipment in. I need your help." He said, "If I pay you $20 and buy you a steak dinner and pay for golf today, will you come help me clean these defibrillators?" First off, I was like, one, yeah, sounds great. And two, what is a defibrillator? Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the genesis. So fast forward a few years from that, I had graduated college. My roommate, we were all actually all from Jackson, graduated from college, doing two different things. And we had an opportunity to get into this medical equipment business in the late 90s, early 2000s. And we started a company called Dixie Medical. That company ran its course. I split with my old business partner in 2011 and bought in and with a company here in town. And as of 2013, Jill and I own Master Medical Equipment, and we started from $0 Renew Biomedical in 2014. So those are our two main companies.
ATA is a leading advisory and tax accounting firm. From tax planning and client accounting services to advisory and assurance, ATA has got you covered. With locations in Jackson, Dyersburg, Union City, Milan, Paris, Memphis, and Henderson, and more outside of West Tennessee, they have an expert nearby to support you. As ATA says, let's amplify your business together. Contact them today at ata.net. Direct Shred is a family-owned and operated commercial and residential shredding company based in Jackson, but serving all of West Tennessee and Memphis. If you need secure, certified, document, or hard drive destruction, contact Direct Shred today at directshred.com. Special thanks to our season sponsor, Tennessee Industrial Printing. Now, you mentioned Lipscomb a minute ago, and I know that you were a Lambeth guy.
Yep.
Because you also played football at Lambeth. Yep. So what was the Lipscomb? I didn't know that about you.
So I originally graduated high school in 1993, played football at Lambeth University. 93, 94. And then after a while of playing football, it was a great time. It was Vic Wallace's first couple of years. Had a bunch of friends that played football. I decided I didn't want to play football anymore, and I was ready to get out of Jackson a little bit.
Oh, gotcha.
So I actually transferred to Lipscomb University, finished up there. That's where I met Jill in spring break of 95. It worked out great. Yeah. So also ended up being roommates with the guy I ended up being in business with in the
Dixie company.
In the Dixie Medical, yes.
So when we were talking to prep for this interview, you had mentioned that the Dixie Medical didn't end well.
Well, my opinion, again, there's always two sides to every story. What happened, we were growing big. We went from $0 to, I think my last year was about $25 million in revenue. And had a really good run up for two guys who I came from the restaurant business. My old business partner, who, like I said, I went to high school with here at Jackson Christian's roommate at Lipscomb. I was selling PowerTel cell phones at the time. So we didn't have any previous medical device experience. And this other guy that we went to high school with, a couple of years older, kind of got us into it. So it was challenging. We did very well. We grew the business. And then I had an office here in Jackson, actually over off North Star Drive. And then our main location where our inventory was, so I ran the sales side. He ran the inventory and operations side, was based out of Franklin, Tennessee. And I got it. We got to a point where we needed to be together under one roof. And I didn't really want to leave Jackson. Yeah. So I moved pretty much everybody, Justin Smith, who's with me now, moved him and all of our sales team up to Nashville. And at the time I had two young children. I had just built a big house and couldn't sell it. This is, on the heels of 2009, 2010, when the real estate market was not good. So couldn't sell my house. And then I really didn't want to leave Jackson. My dad actually stopped talking to me for 2 months because I'm an only child and he lived down the street and my kids were small and he was mad and didn't want us to leave. So long story short, it came to an impasse. So I didn't want to move up there. He didn't want to pay me what I needed to be up there as far as getting a relocation and help buy my house or something. And so it just kind of ended on bad terms. Yeah. And I've learned, everything comes to an end, right? And you have to be okay with relationships, businesses, anything kind of coming to an end. And at the time it was very difficult because we had started together and grown a business. But ended up being a blessing in disguise. Yeah. I didn't want it to end that way. My hand was being forced to move. And, at the end of the day, we didn't move. And, here we are,
Yeah.
however many years later. That was 2011. So 13 years ago, thought things were going to be a lot different, but it led me to this opportunity.
Besides the things have to end, how did that affect your business thoughts going forward? Like,
I had, I tell everybody this, and this is something I use this all the time. So, I'm about to be 50, in my 20s, had a lot of success. That's when we started the company. That's when I'd had a lot of sales success, a lot of business success. In my 20s, I thought I knew everything, because we were doing well. In my 30s, I thought I knew everything, and I thought I could tell you everything, give you opinions and that you should take as fact about business. And then now that I'm getting out of my 40s, the last 10 years, I have learned I have a lot to be thankful for, a lot to be grateful about, and I still have a lot to learn. I'm just here like everybody else. I'm here to learn from you. I'm here to learn from anybody I interact with, and I am not Mr. Know-It-All. I've Mr. Seen a lot. I haven't seen it all yet.
That's a good distinction.
So it's one of those things as I reflect on the years and kind of how I've progressed in my own personality in business, that I think what has made me more humble at this point is I've had a lot of failures. It was tough starting over. When I started over in 2011, basically started from $0, and I had some, a lot of competition and low resources. And I had a wife at home and 2 kids in private school. So a lot of the personal challenges kind of motivate you. And then when you're used to operating at a certain level, and then all of a sudden you don't have those resources, it's a real challenge.
You mentioned that you were you were basically broke when you started MME.
I used when we first started Dixie Medical, I used credit cards. I used those little checks. I had a Discover card that I got my senior year at Lipscomb, and you get these little checks in the mail back in the day. I don't know if they still do this, but like in it say, you can write this as a check. It goes straight to your credit card. So that's how I financed my first website at Dixie Medical, using that. And then when I started back over, Jill and I couldn't sell our house, so we maxed out a second mortgage. So 100% of the funds came from us. We dipped into our savings, busted in the 401k. People don't realize the kind of the emotional and mental strain that puts on you, because here I have worked and been successful for 10 years, and you're kind of cashing in your chips. You're putting it all on the table for something that you believe in, but you're not sure if everybody else believes in.
Yeah. And it can be kind of hard to get momentum going. You talked to me about testing a device on yourself.
Yeah. So that's I like to show that. So I don't have a lot of sympathy. I have a lot of sympathies for a lot of people that work under here. We have a little over 110 employees right now. And I have a lot of sympathy for the people in packing and shipping and some other places. Who I don't have sympathy for is our sales team. Okay. So back in the day, I did my own account management, I answered all the phone calls, kind of did everything. So early days. So when we started MME, every penny mattered. And so I had test equipment where we could test out medical devices that we were shipping. And long story short, one day I got a call, and I had one piece of test of equipment that was very desirable. And the guy called me and said, "Hey, you got an Impulse 4000? I said, "I sure do." He said, "I really need one bad." Overnight, he was going to pay me triple what I had bought it for. And I was like, "Okay, this will work." It was on a Thursday. I was like, "I'll sell it to him overnight on Friday." And I said, I'll buy one next week. Not a problem. Didn't have any equipment that needed tested. Shipped it out Thursday. Well, Friday, somebody calls and says, "You know what? I need this EKG, and I need it shipped out overnight." Well, I hadn't tested it. So I had sold my tester that tested out EKG machines. And long story short, Justin, who had worked with me previously at our other company where we had money, had resources. And he said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "We're not going to miss this sale." I was like, "How are we going to test it?" I said, "I'm going to show you lead placement." So I took my shirt off in the warehouse. I laid on the ground and I put the leads on myself, and we tested output and functions and printer, all by having my bare chest exposed and doing an EKG on myself.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
That's right.
It's a fun story. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
I don't recommend selling your only vital piece of equipment that allows you to test anything.
Yeah.
But I did it, and
You made the sales.
So now when my sales team fusses, I said, hey, listen, here's what I had to do.
So the name, well, you go by MME now.
Correct.
But it's Master Medical Equipment.
Master Medical Equipment.
How'd you pick that name?
So it was kind of, again, a lot of business 101, a lot of business situations. I told you I've had a lot of experiences. So in 2011, when I split up from Dixie Medical, I had an opportunity here to go in business with MasterFit Medical Supplies. They're still here in town, owned and operated by John Gerard and Ed Woodside. Good friends with them now too. They had an opportunity for me. They wanted for me to help with their supplies, try to do e-commerce and broaden their scope, and I needed help with access to equipment. So we started a separate company. So it was it still is MasterFit Medical Supplies, still here in town today. They do mostly physician office supplies in around West Tennessee, some in Middle Tennessee. So we started this business, MasterFit Medical Equipment. So it was a separate LLC, but we had a lot of combined shared resources. After 2 years, MME needed to spread its wings. I was a little bit more risk averse. And I bought them out of my interest of MasterFit Medical Equipment, changed it to Master Medical Equipment. So cut off the fit. And people always ask me about the fit. The business that John and the Simmons bought originally, Jim Simmons, who was a banker here in town, was MasterFit gloves. So it was back in the day. People don't realize, gloves were a new thing in healthcare. I bought that side of the business, the LLC that we had started, MasterFit Medical Equipment, which was really focused on equipment sales, which is what I grew up in. Bought that out from them in 2013.
Gotcha.
So, and then I have always heard three letter names were real good, IBM, stuff like that. So, so we've shortened it now, and it was pretty cool. Kevin, I was at a trade show down in Miami. It's an international trade show. And this was probably 6 or 7 years ago. And we've been I'm very focused on brand. I like brand. I love content. I love, anything that has to do with marketing and really promotes your brand. And your brand has to be recognizable. So you put a bunch of words together, it's not as recognizable as a symbol in 3 letters. So I had my shirt on, MME. We had just done a new logo. And I'm walking through the trade show hall in Miami and Orange Convention Center, Miami Beach. Long story short, this guy comes up to me and I can't remember where he's from, Europe or somewhere. And he's like, MMA. And I was like, huh? What's he saying? MMA. I was like, MMA. And he was trying to say MME. And then finally he points right at my chest on my logo. And I was like, MME. He recognized it. Okay. So then he was like, where? Like, donde? Where? So I took him to our booth. He bought a bunch of stuff. And at that point, I was like, okay,
you're sold.
It's working. Yeah. And my plan's working. I've gone from a mouthful of words to 3 letters, MME. So that's kind of the story of the brand and how it's evolved over time.
You talked about why Renew makes sense. What was the kickoff point for that for you guys?
This is business 101. Again, a lot of the stuff we do is vertically integrated. We were outsourcing all of our service to a couple different independent service organizations. So if we needed a defibrillator fixed, we'd send it to one guy. If we needed a ventilator fixed, we'd send it to somebody else. Well, at a certain critical mass, we looked at, we're spending, $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month in sending equipment out for repairs. And it didn't take long to realize, hey, we could hire our own guy and start our own company for as much as we're paying to send it out. So that's in 2014. We started Renew at $0 with 1 tech. And now we have, I think today we have 48 or 49 techs full time.
Wow.
And
all over the place, right?
All over. So we have a location. Our main location depot is here in Jackson. We have a depot location with 3 techs in Louisville, Kentucky. We have one in Chicago, which is actually pretty robust. 5 folks up there. And then Atlanta, Georgia, and are hoping to open in Tampa next month, and then Texas in another 3 months.
Now, you're a sales guy.
Yes, I am.
That's the vibe, right?
Yes.
And you're very good at that. Fixing medical equipment is a very different ball of wax, right?
It is. So you have to understand your product. And our product for Renew is our service, which is our team. So I'm big on career development, learning. We have our own apprenticeship program here in Jackson. I'm really proud of it. Jill's idea that came to fruition in 2020. This is just something I'm super proud of, Kevin. The first apprenticeship program for biomeds in the country. U.S. Department of Labor certified, Tennessee Department of Labor certified, and our governing body over biomeds, AME, it was the first one to credential us. So this is huge. So if you go to U.S. Department of Labor and you look up biomed apprentices, our name is on there as being the very first.
Yeah.
So we love pouring into our people. So back to where I'm a sales guy, I believe in our people, and what I'm selling is our capabilities. Our customers have need for repair and maintenance of their medical equipment. Yeah. They want somebody they can communicate with, somebody they can trust, and somebody that knows that has, their best interest at heart. So it's not hard to sell when you know it's your team. So I tell it in any business, the owner should always be in sales. I mean, you're always selling your services. You're always selling your people. Renew's different because it is a service. We're not selling a product, but service in this day and age is neglected in a lot of industries, not just our industry. I mean, everybody has a bad experience with going to auto body repair or somewhere. So we try to take what we learn from our customers and apply it, and it makes it easy to sell.
Yeah. You've made a solution for a talent development problem. If someone else was thinking about starting an apprenticeship program, what would be your 2 cents of wisdom on that?
My 2 cents of wisdom is look to resources. I was very fortunate when I was looking for this. I actually reached out to the chamber. At the time I was on the board, reached out to Kyle Spurgeon, and I was like, hey man, we're trying to get something done here. I was like, what do you know? He was able to connect me with Hollywood and several of the folks in workforce development for the state. They came in, they educated us. Again, this is when I'm in my 40s, so I was a lot more open to learning. So we had a lot of folks that really wanted to pour into us and share. It was amazing. So after they came for their first visit, Tennessee had a recumbent worker program, and we got a grant for $78,000. And I've never gotten money from the government in my life. But it goes back to, again, I probably in years past, I wouldn't have been as eager to try to ask for help. But one thing I encourage anybody, if you're considering an apprenticeship program, go to your state, to your local resources, to your chamber of commerce. There's programs out there to help. People want workers to not only be in their community, but also learn and grow and feel like they have a career path. Yeah. And that's what we're doing here.
Tennessee Industrial Printing is West Tennessee's commercial printer. They have built their reputation on delivering on time, on budget, and on target. Tennessee Industrial Printing delivers on complex printing projects, mailing projects, and fulfillment services. With a fleet of presses, they have positioned themselves to handle small and large volume jobs. I've been able to work with tips with many of my clients' projects, and they have delivered every time. Wayne and his team have continuously invested to ensure that they are an efficient and effective option for commercial printing. Start your next project at tipsprints.com. So the last time I was in this building was 2020. The chamber sent me out to do a photo shoot with you guys because you guys were Ventilator Central.
Yep.
So, but you started selling ventilators in 2019?
2019, yes.
How does that happen?
So a lot of people are like, you're a genius businessman. This is me being honest. Yeah. So right place, right time. Sometimes these things happen. It was part of our strategy. So we sell EMS equipment. We used to just sell refurbished equipment. We had gotten further in 7-8 years ago, we were really getting into new equipment, because what had happened is we would strip out the supply. We've gotten big enough, strip out the supply for used equipment. And then not only that, we had some customers. So in the ambulance world, a lot of them are based on contracts. And sometimes if you win a contract from municipality, it's written that you have to have new equipment. So we were having some customers that were growing with us, and then they would get these big municipal contracts. All of a sudden, they're like, hey, appreciate you helping us all these years. We got to buy new. I'm going to go have to talk to somebody else. So part of our strategy was to add for every used device we sold, we wanted to have a new comparable device that we could sell as well. So the hard thing is you got to go and meet with vendors that are distribution friendly. Mm-hmm. We had Bayer Medical, who actually went bankrupt this year. We had contacted them. They had a transport vent that we were very interested in selling. They did sell through distribution, and they came to us with an offer, but we had to stock. And so they shopped this offer not just to me, to a lot of my competitors. And in 2019, in this very office, I brought all my sales team in. I said, guys, to do this, here's their volume commitment. And it was over $3 million worth of purchase orders that I had to fill out.
Oh, goodness.
To take.
Yeah.
So, and this is 2019. So this was part of our strategy. We wanted not only to sell ventilators, we wanted to service. They were going to offer us a package where we would be an authorized service center as well as be able to sell these ventilators. Mm-hmm. And I took it on a leap of faith. It was part of our strategy. Yeah. And the first deliveries came end of 2019, first of 2020. And by April, we had sold everything that we had committed to for the year.
But it got crazier. I mean, the pandemic was just crazy over here, right?
The pandemic, as far as challenges, people always ask me what was the most challenge. I've been through a lot of stuff. I've been through partnerships and very difficult times with vendors. I've gone through tough times with customers. Nothing prepared me for what happened during COVID. So not only did we sell and service ventilators, Renew Biomedical had just gotten in the servicing of ventilators as well. We had ventilators coming from all over the country. They call them hanger bangers, like stuff that was, in the corner somewhere. And early pandemic stages, people forget that it was bad and they didn't know how to treat it. And ventilation was the number one thing that they did when people couldn't breathe. Yeah. So we worked 7 days a week, 12 to 18-hour days, technicians, servicing. So not only did we sell ventilators, all the other peripheral products that go with it when they were standing up these hospitals, monitors, IV pumps, defibrillators. We kind of helped with all that. So what I was really proud, again, it goes back to your team, right? And I've always fostered an environment of intellectual curiosity. And, we call it MacGyvering. How do we get this done? Mm-hmm. Somebody comes to us with a problem. Let's figure out a solution. I was fortunate in that I had a lot of connections throughout the world. So I was able to get things that other people weren't able to get. And my team really rallied around us. And there wasn't anything we said no to. If somebody said, hey, I found 10 ventilators in the basement of the hospital. We don't know if they work. Send them to us. Let us test them out. Neat story. I got video of this. So Philips had these ventilators that we bought used, and to test them out, they had to have what they call an artificial lung. And we only had say 10, but the amount of ventilators we had coming in was, hundreds a day. So we didn't know what to do. So one of my techs came up with the idea and he tested it. So a rubber glove that had the same capacity for air and resistance as a lung, we were able to rig up that with a piece of tubing that was a makeshift test lung. And so we had all these ventilators and it looked like the hands were alive going in and out for the testing. So those kind of things, now that we've been through a challenge like that, it makes me more empowered, makes our team more empowered to say, hey, we've done something like this. We can keep doing anything else.
From a business perspective, you hit this. I'm assuming there was a lot of growth that came through that.
We doubled in the course of 1 year to the next. We doubled plus 20%. So,
and I would think there would be some sort of a pullback then after that. So how did you? Maybe I was wrong, but how did you manage that?
Well, per our strategy. So during COVID, a lot of people like us, medical equipment distributors, saw the lure of PPE. So everybody's wearing masks. Hospitals needed gowns. Hospitals needed gloves. That wasn't core to our strategy. Another thing that wasn't core to our strategy, so during COVID, they allowed for emergency use authorization. So the FDA said, all right, normally you have to go through a whole process to get a medical device 510K cleared to be able to sold commercially in the U.S. Well, they suspended that for ventilation. They basically said, so the Emergency Use Authorization Act said, anything that you think will help vent somebody, you can make, there's no liability. Mm-hmm. So what that allowed for is non-FDA ventilators made in China, made in India, made in other parts of the world that weren't allowed here previously, all of a sudden start coming in the market. So we have people calling us. Are you interested in this ventilator? Are you interested in this ventilator? You need more. And we had sold out of all of our ventilators.
Yeah.
So the one part of the strategy that I always questioned, did I do the right thing or not? I decided not to take on any ventilators or sell any ventilators that had this emergency use authorization, because what I knew was after COVID subsided, these ventilators, one, wouldn't be worth anything on the secondary market, and two, couldn't be used to bill for patients in EMS, long-term care, hospitals. Yeah. So it's not a piece of equipment that would have a life after COVID, right?
And it wouldn't feed into Renew because you wouldn't.
It wouldn't feed into Renew. It wouldn't be on a normal business cycle.
And who knows how good they actually are.
And it scared me to death because I don't know these people. They're from, we stayed true to that. So after COVID, the year after COVID, we went down a small amount, about 10%, a little less than 10%. Other people went down 50%. So, our spike, our COVID spike, we doubled, and then we barely went down. And then the year after that, we started the rocket ship again. Yeah. So what I tell everybody, opportunity like that, instead of looking at it just short term and being glad, we use it as a time to reinvest.
So you essentially left money on the table when the pandemic rolled on because you didn't go start selling these. And that sort of sounds like it helped level out the dip afterwards.
Well, what it allowed us to do, so a lot of these devices, so they did during COVID, even the ventilators that we normally sold in service, they gave them a pass on preventive maintenance. They gave them a pass on repair. They just basically said, hey, listen, just get them back out working. So what it allowed us to do is the year after COVID, we circled back to a lot of these. And also it was great because it opened up new markets for us. People that we had never sold to and were hard to get into, some large hospital chains, some large EMS organizations, some large governmental health organizations that we would never have sold to. When we had product, they called us. So what we did in 2021 is reevaluated. We went after these folks that we got in with, and it helped grow our business. So I tell everybody, we were growing and we were always going to grow. COVID was kind of like a springboard for us. We took advantage of the challenge and we stayed with our strategy. Mm-hmm. So to your point, we left money on the table. We could have done triple what we did in COVID. However, we were very focused. I did not want to put myself at risk or my customers. At the end of the day, I knew that I was going to have to service these machines. It's like you said earlier, if I'm taking a machine in from China, who knows what kind of support I'm going to get? I don't know these people. They're not who I'm already partnered with. So what we stuck with is the 2 or 3 ventilation, IV pump, defib companies that we're partnered with. And to this day, they're still good partners of ours.
Haven Insurance Partners is a locally owned independent insurance agency. Haven takes your risks, whether personal, commercial, health, or life, and approaches many different insurance companies on your behalf. This allows them to find different coverages and price points for you. At Haven, they believe you deserve options, and they want to help you explore those. Visit haveninsurance.com to find better coverage today. You might not know that I started my educational journey at a community college after high school, which allowed me to have some time to make decisions for my future and save money on gen ed classes. Jackson State Community College provides that opportunity and many others for students in West Tennessee. Visit jscc.edu to see all of their educational and career building opportunities. Special thanks to our season sponsor, Tennessee Industrial Printing. Your first business venture with Dixie was a partnership.
Correct.
And maybe kind of got your wings clipped a little bit in the way that kind of shook out.
Yes.
A lot of people would have shied away from business partnerships in the future. I mean, business partnerships are a dangerous thing.
Absolutely.
But you've brought in partners on different parts of this conglomerate, whatever we want to call it.
Yes.
In fact, I want to play a clip from Justin.
Oh, that'd be great.
So we did a little interview with Justin Smith, who's one of your partners
in Renew.
And
Jill and I own MME 100%, but Justin's partners with us in Renew.
Yeah. So I asked him about being partners with you.
I can remember going into one of our business associates' offices. We were setting up the LLC for Renew Biomedical, and he flat out told us there. He said that most partnerships don't make it, and I thought man, that's weird for you to say that. Now we're setting up a business together. And I thought, man, I want to tell you, I want to come back and tell you, in 10 years, it's been 10 years. Actually, we had our 10-year party in August, and we did make it. And it's due to the fact that he not only is he unselfish in his dealings with his family, with in the town, but also in a business relationship. There's no greed involved. It's all about the betterment of the business of the person, and it's wholehearted. It's hard to be at odds with someone who is extremely as wholesome and as driven as he is.
So you're approaching partnerships, I feel like, differently than maybe the one that you were in. What's your process to that and thinking through that? Why would you go back to partnerships after,
Partnerships are invaluable, in my opinion, but they have to be understood by both parties. Mm-hmm. And Renew, I'm the majority, so it helps. But with Justin involved, I knew he would push it, and he was my VP of sales for years at MME. And I needed somebody not only just to push it, I needed somebody with a vested interest. So I've always used my current partnerships to where, it is a tool of not only getting somebody involved, but it also is a trust factor. You trust them, they trust you. So partnerships, in my opinion, they work when everything is understood. And there are personalities are involved. It's tough. Partnerships aren't easy, but when you have the right alignment of people and you are very explicit in what you understand your roles are and how the partnership's being structured, usually they work out. And I think early days, the partnerships I was in, I didn't have that context. I didn't have that previous bad and good experience. And I've had some coaching since then. I've had some coaching to understand, hey, it's great to have partners, but you got to know who you're in business with.
Yeah. Let's do a little lightning round here.
Let's go for it.
Maybe we'll have a little sound effect or something. Let's start with some business books and wine.
Yeah, be glad to. All right, so you told me this ahead of time, so I've got something prepared. So one of my ones that I have I've gone to in the last couple of years because we're struggling. We're a level now, and there's not many books written on. There's lots of books on how to start a business. Lots of books written by Coca-Cola and large industries, GE, and all these ginormous companies, Apple. But no man's land. So what I've told my management team here is we're kind of in no man's land. And to get out of no man's land, you have to do things different. We're in the throes of becoming a larger business. Mm-hmm. So this great book for anybody who is attempting to kind of get to the next level. And there's some very practical, I found stories in here. And the guy who wrote it, Doug Tatum, is a great business professor. So highly recommend No Man's Land. One of mine and my wife Jill's favorite authors, Peter Lencioni, has this book, The Advantage Business 101. Basically, customer service and relationships are key, and understanding not only that context, but how to be a leader. Great book, highly recommend. I've read it several times. And then the third one is not really a book, it's a subscription. So Harvard Business Review. So Kevin, years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago, I was walking through the airport when I was flying all over the country for business. And I saw a Harvard Business Review, and the front page had an article that looked interesting. And I'm like, okay, Harvard Business Review, that's going to be way highbrow. I mean, I barely got out of Lipscomb University with a 4-year degree, So I'm like, Harvard, that's going to be over my head for a small business. At that time, we were tiny. Yeah. Long story short, the principles, the articles, day in and day out. I got a subscription. I have a subscription for 3 of my business leaders here under roof. Fantastic. It all types of great applicable business information and knowledge and stories that aren't just for large companies. It's for anybody, small company, self-proprietors. Very, very, very good resource. Love reading it. Great stories, and highly recommend it.
Okay, thank you. When are you having the most fun in business?
When am I having the most fun? So I was telling somebody this. I have restructured recently. You said it earlier. I joke with everybody. My title on my business cards is founder and CEO. I'm a sales guy. I just happen to run several companies. That being said, my favorite thing is business development, putting deals together, and as a salesperson, making connections. So that's what I love doing. So a couple years ago, about 25% of my time was that, and the other 75% was in the business, operations, managing, dealing with fires. So I had to make a conscious effort to do a better job delegating. I had to hire some folks that could take some things off my plate. And so now I've righted the ship. So now 75% of my time is business development, what I truly love, which is it's not just sales, it's putting ideas together. It's connecting the dots. And I think as an entrepreneur, that's what everybody craves. But at certain levels, you've been there, done that. You're everything. You're the accounting team. Yep. You're the human resource team. You're the sales guy. You're the editor. You're everything. So I'm very fortunate in that our business has grown enough and we have some really good people on our team that now 75% of my time is doing business development.
Okay. If you had to start over again tomorrow with no MME, no Renew, what are you doing to start a business?
Again, I tell everybody this. People ask me that a lot. Would you go start a burger shack? I've always said, hey, I'd like to have a burger shack at the beach, burgers and beers at the beach. Or I've always been fascinated by other industries. However, I know and have a knowledge and skill set in the medical healthcare field, specifically with selling devices. So everybody asks me, if you start over again, would you not want to do something different? I said, there's two things. I have this knowledge. And I have an understanding. And not only that, I have a vernacular that goes with this industry. So if everything went away tomorrow, I would probably find it probably wouldn't be this exact type of business model, but it would be something in medical and healthcare because it's what I know. People always come to me, they get bored with the industry, whatever, and they've been 20 years, 30 years in. And I said, the problem is that's your skill set. And there's always opportunity. I'm not saying you can't do anything else or try something else, but I know that's my skill set.
If you were, what's the best advice you ever got?
The best advice I ever got, it's funny. It came from a couple different people in succession. So a lot of it had to do with delegation. So I have been basically a sole proprietor many times where I did everything. And early stages of MME, the advice was to me, they may not be Mark Taylor, but you can't be where they are, meaning I can't replicate myself and that I'm wanting my first best, but sometimes their first best is just as good. You can't be everywhere. So basically it went back to delegation. How do you grow? You have to trust people and you have to pour into them. So the whole thing with growing a business, it's not about products. It's not about your connection with the customers. It's your ability to grow a team of people to surround you that get your vision and your plan and can help you execute it.
You're a hometown guy. We've talked about that a little bit.
Born and raised, Jackson, Tennessee.
And you are proud of that. This is how Justin phrased it.
I never met anybody more proud of their city than Mark. Every time we meet somebody from out of town, or he's like, I'm from Jackson. I was born here, at the hospital there. He's very proud of his roots. He's very proud of his family. His dad was a part of the Casey Jones Village, and he's just he's very very proud of where he came from. He and Jill, I don't know of a organization that they don't donate their time or money to here in town. It seems like we're always attending a charity event, which is really cool to be a part of. So yeah, that sums them up in a nutshell. They're just very proud Jacksonians and, very giving with their time and their money, to not only their people that work here for us, but also, around the city.
So hometown guy, Justin talked about that. What is it about Jackson that you think that gets you so excited?
Jackson's unique community. Everybody's willing to help. I hear people say this all the time. We're so welcoming. Everybody really wants what's best for the community, and everybody wants to see people grow. I've been very, very fortunate. A lot of my mentors are here. A lot of the people who have really given me some encouragement. Like I said, the chamber, I mean, multiple times, Kyle Spurgeon, has pointed me. I was like, hey, man, where do I go? And he's got a direction for me. Multiple business leaders in town, Carl Kirkland, Ted Nelson, folks like that have really poured into me. And a lot of places, it's not as friendly as doing business. I've told people this. We've been very fortunate. We're in Louisville, Kentucky. We're in Chicago. It's hard to do business there. And not everybody is kind of suspect. Why are you asking me this? Here in Jackson, not only are they helpful, they want to see you succeed. Mm-hmm. I really feel like Jacksonians want to see other Jacksonians succeed. And then people ask me all the time, of course I'm an only child. My parents live here and born and raised here. So I've got 3 generations on my wall here that worked and we're here in Jackson. So there's that history piece. But people ask me, why Jackson? I say, why not? Mm-hmm. Why not? We're in the middle of the country. We're close to Memphis. We're on I-40. It's a good cost of living. We have a great workforce, and people are pro-business. So when people ask me why Jackson, my answer is always why not.
Yeah. Mark, last question, maybe the biggest question. What do you hope your legacy is going to be?
It's funny you bring that up. We've been talking about that a lot, a legacy. It's one of the things. So we have a consultant that's helped us over the last year. Like I said, I told you, we used to work for Warren Buffett, and every organization has a legacy. Some good, some bad, and by organizations, anything from a church to a school to a business, they have a legacy. And in my mind, my legacy, mine and Jill's legacy, is not about how wealthy we can become. It's not about how much spotlight we can get under. It's not about, I think our legacy is really going to be the footprint that we make specifically here in Jackson with our team and seeing them be successful. I want to take what we're doing and make a difference, not only with our customers, but with those who work with us every day. Mm-hmm. I get the biggest thrill. Somebody asked me that the other day, said, what is the thing that gives you just the absolute, biggest thrill? Is it closing a deal? Is it getting this? Is it winning this business? I said, no, day in and day out. My biggest thrill is watching some of these younger folks that we have here now grow up through our ranks, become managers, become business unit leaders, and see them be successful. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it to me. So my legacy will be what is carried on after this by those who come through our doors and we work with.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us for the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Thank you for listening to 40 by 45, the West Tennessee Business Podcast. This series is produced by Adelsberger Marketing, directed, recorded, and edited by Eric Archer, branding by Katie Howerton, motion graphics by Ricky Santos, and it is produced and hosted by me, Kevin Adelsberger. If you are interested in creating a podcast for your business, connect with us at adelsbergermarketing.com. Subscribe to 40 by 45 on your favorite podcast platform for future episodes, and thank you again for listening.